are in listen-only mode.
Hello all, this is Manas Kundu from Asia Power Quality Initiative, India. We welcome you to this webinar on incorporating power quality performance parameters in distribution regulation. This is the third webinar in our series, and a very warm welcome to all of you with a greeting from APQI. Power quality is increasingly becoming important because as we are going into a digital economy situation, especially in India and Southeast Asian countries, the nonlinear nodes are increasing day by day, and all these nonlinear loads are essentially driven by power electronics. The power electronics equipments are very sensitive for good power quality. At the same time, they are also the reason for vitiating the power quality environment. And if you have poor power quality environment, then we suffer from various improper or costly operation. We suffer from failure of equipment and power supply, and above all, it can create safety issues. So keeping that in mind, APQI is a program which has been initiated in Asia as a neutral collaborative platform with the support of national support network partners for promoting education and awareness into the PQ domain. And we have been working in 7 countries in Asia and Southeast Asia to also facilitate the regulatory changes. Besides that, the main objective is to help industries to address power quality issues and build up the capacity of utility, industry and service sector to address the PQ issues. We would like to facilitate policy changes and market transformation towards safe and quality power for all. APQI website is a variable information storehouse on all PQ matters in Asia, and it is operated through a network of European and Asian PQ experts with electronic library, website, forum, seminar, webinar like this, which are all open access and free access material. You are welcome to visit www.apqi.org. Essentially, the high power quality approach is everybody's responsibility. It is not the utility alone, but also the user. The utilization of power has a tremendous bearing onto the power quality issues. Something like automobile industry, if an auto is not compliant with the fuel emission norms, then it vitiates the atmosphere. Same thing, the electrical atmosphere can be vitiated by bad power utilization norms, and it helps all if we approach it together. In today's webinar, we have originally scheduled Central Electricity Authority, Gujarat Electricity Regulatory Commission and Tata Power, supported by our knowledge partner P Manifold. Our speakers and their brief profile today. Originally scheduled was Mr. Pankaj Batra. He is the head of regulatory affairs in Central Electricity Authority. Unfortunately, he had some exigency meeting into the cabinet meeting. So last moment he had to drop out. We will miss his presence and we'll miss his expert opinion. We have Mr. Sanjay Anada, Deputy Director, Technical and Tariff of Gujarat Electricity Regulatory Commission. He looks after the annual revenue requirement and tariff determination for distribution utilities in Gujarat, and he is also responsible for PQ performance monitoring for the utilities under Gujarat Electricity Regulatory Commission. Our third expert is Mr. Ramchandran Pillai, who is heading the distribution support services at Tata Power Limited, located in Mumbai, India. Some of the housekeeping measures. Following this, Mr. Sanjay Anada will have his presentation, which will be around 20 to 25 minutes, followed by Mr. Ramchandran Pillai, again another 20 to 25 minutes, and that will be followed by the question answer session. During the question answer session, you are encouraged to put your questions, if possible, to identify to the speaker to whom you are addressing to. With that, I welcome Mr. Sanjay Anada to take over the stage.
Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? Hello? 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 Hello?
Yes, sir. Please continue.
Hello?
Please continue.
No, I'm not able to hear you. Okay. So now you can hear me?
Yes, sir. Please continue.
Okay. So good evening. I do not know how many people are there. It says 26. That's the count as of now. Okay. So this will take some doing. It seems to be a one way. Okay. So I'll rush through the presentation, and then we can have your queries. We just trying to give you a utility perspective in terms of how we perceive power quality and what are the various parameters against which we benchmark ourselves in terms of where we're kind of do a health check. So let me take you through the other slide. Why is the slide not going ahead? Can you see this? Okay, the major factors in terms of how we try to monitor where the performance of the utility is. One is with respect to the distribution loss, and the other is with respect to the aggregate technical and commercial loss. I'm not going to read out all of this because it's already there in the presentation, but I'm sure majorly everybody would have heard about what is the distribution loss and what is the AT&C loss. In case you need if you have any queries, we can take it during the question answer session. We go to the next slide. Why does it take so long here? Why is it not going? Why doesn't it go ahead? Are you in a position to go to the next slide? Over. Hello? Why is it not moving? This gives you the formula which is used. On that. Kind of. Hello? Hello? Call them online.
Yes, sir. Please continue, please.
Yeah, this gives the formula against which we talk about how we measure the AT&C loss. It's basically a ratio between what we input and then what is realized in terms of bill collection. And we also look at the collection efficiency, which is right here. It's in terms of the amount what has been realized in terms of revenue collected versus the amount which is billed. So this is one parameter against which the health check of a utility is measured. Though this is in terms of the a kind of an empirical formula, there is a whole lot of thing which goes behind it. It talks in terms of how satisfied the consumer is, and hence from there it goes to what is known as the AT&C in terms of your indices, and then further to customer satisfaction. It doesn't know yet. Look at that. Could you go to the next slide, please? I'm going to the next slide. What we have tried to present over here is the kind of norms which are there. We have compared the norms which the regulator in Maharashtra has provided with respect to the norms which are there as laid down by the IEEE guidelines. What you see is that maybe we are still a long way to reach the norms which are being specified by the IEEE for all voltage levels. It's a matter which we look at it in terms of at what point of time will we be reaching at that level. That's a matter which is of a little concern to every utility, subject to them looking at it. If one does not look at this, then one will never get into that mode of looking at power quality the way it has to be looked at. We talk in terms of the harmonic distortion in terms of voltages, and the next slide talks about in terms of the current. So these are empirical figures which are there in the IEEE guidelines, plus every state regulator would impose it depending on how he wants to take this to the next level. Again, few definitions which I don't think we should waste time on. I'm sure people who are in the subject would know all of this. Let me go straight to a slide where we try and tell in terms of what we are doing here. And then we will take your queries. What we have done is we have installed a lot of power quality monitors on our distribution substations, that is the 33 by 11 kV. And we also have power quality monitors for the 220 kV by 100 kV and 100 kV by either 22 kV or 33 kV substations. We have just been giving you an indication in terms of where these are connected. It's connected on the bus, and these are monitored. Each one being given a kind of a threshold limit, which is in accordance with the IEEE and MERC guidelines. And in the event of a fault or in the event of any kind of a reaction, either on account of a system generated issue or on account of a direct fault in our own system, we then get these snapshots of various, these are the kind of snapshots that we get from the device, and these are then monitored and also analyzed. So you have all the three voltages, you have all the three currents, you have phase-to-phase voltage, phase-to-neutral. You have even the wave shapes which are there. Having stated what the issues are, these are some of the solutions that are available in the market. Now, in terms of how many utilities use them, that's something which we can debate upon. Stat-Var compensator, basically, we are using a different version of the Stat-Var compensation. People are only using the normal capacitors which are there, switched on mode. It is only now that you have automated power factor controllers, but that's also on the LT side, which are thyristor based. In terms of the dynamic voltage regulators, we have all heard about automatic voltage transformers which are there. But we need to do a lot in terms of how we take power quality to a different level altogether. Harmonic filters, I think few industries are using it, but as a utility, whether anybody is using it is a question mark. And where is that slide which talks? We just touch base with respect to whatever our interactions have been with the consumers. We realized that the consumer needs to be educated in terms of the issues which are there. As we all know, the power quality issues crop up apart from the sags as well. The harmonics which are injected come from the consumer side. So, in terms of how the consumer will make an informed decision, that needs to be done keeping the kind of industry he is in, and the consultants who are associated with them need to educate the consumer so that when he starts his industry, he comes with all these paraphernalia associated with it. Because if we as a utility try and tell him to do this once his industry is up and running, it becomes an issue, because the question is who is going to fund all of that. So one of the options what we feel is that the regulator should make provisions for utilities for claiming power quality investments via the ARR petition. So I will stop over here. The data is already there in terms of what is the wish list. And then we shall take questions from you at the end of the other session. Over.
Control mouse keyboard में control I yes it has really eye problem जी keyboard mouse तो पर आता है keyboard mouse
Hello. Hello, welcome you all again after some disturbance from my side on the webinar of incorporating power quality performance parameters for distribution regulation. At this juncture, I would like to remember the words of our beloved Prime Minister, which he has delivered on the eve of 15th August. The words were like this: We should not compromise on two counts. First, zero defect, and second, zero effect. Being a responsible engineer of this electricity sector, it is our prime responsibility to deliver our goods to end consumers in such a way that it reaches to them with zero defect. And once we achieve that level, there will be a manifold effect on the second zero effect, that is effect on environment. With these motivational words of our Prime Minister, I would like to start my presentation. The structure of the presentation will be like this. First, we will discuss various KPI parameters like distribution losses, reliability indices, and quality of power. And we will focus on the issue of inclusion of all these three parameters in tariff regulations and what will be the impact of these three parameters or observance of these three parameters on tariff of the retail consumers. And then I will try to give my point of view on the subject matter. First, KPI parameter is the distribution and transmission losses. Generally, across the country, in various regulatory conditions, AT&C loss is considered as a performance indicator parameter. But in state of Gujarat, we have considered, rather Commission has considered to emphasize on reduction in distribution loss. That is why we have mentioned some provisions regarding improvement in distribution loss in MOT regulation 2011 and prior to that also. Why Commission emphasized on T&D loss rather than AT&C loss? Let us look at the Gujarat scenario. In this picture, we can see the T&D loss and AT&C loss percentage and collection efficiencies of Gujarat utilities as a whole for various years from 2010-11 to 2012-13. We can see from here that collection efficiencies of Gujarat utilities are almost 100%. So there is no need to further give any incentive or disincentive on this parameter rather than to look at on the reduction part of the distribution loss. That is why the Commission emphasized on the distribution loss parameter as KPI indicator. In the MIT regulation 2011, it is stipulated that Commission will decide the norms for T&D loss, and thereafter a sharing mechanism of gain and loss on account of deviation from normative T&D loss is to be stipulated by the Commission. Once it is decided, a norm has been fixed or norm has been set by the Commission, a gain and loss will be done, and if actual loss is higher than the normative distribution loss, it will increase the energy requirement and thereafter power purchase cost, and ultimately aggregate revenue requirement of distribution license will increase. But reverse will be the scenario. If actual loss is less than normative distribution loss, it will reduce energy requirement, power purchase cost, and ARR of distribution utility. This we can see from this table. Let us look at first utility VGVCL. The approved T&D loss, that is normative loss, was 12.45%, but actual was 11%. So it is less than the normative. So it has an reduced impact, or impact on ARR will be to the extent of 7.32 crore rupees less. So ARR of the distribution company will be less. This is the impact of distribution loss KPI parameter on ARR. Other reliability indices are SAIFI, SAIDI, and MAIFI, which Commission has stipulated in its standard of performance regulations. DISCOM is submitting data on quarterly, half-yearly, and annually basis in its SOP report performance. On the other side, we have mentioned about these parameters in MIT regulation 2011 to incentivize or incentivize utilities to achieve a normative level. Target wire availability for rural area is 90%, and for town and city area we have fixed as 95%. Commission to stipulate a trajectory for achieving target availability for wire business. And after end of the year, and looking at the actual availability that has been achieved by distribution utility, a reduction or increase in return on equity by 0.1% for every 1% under achievement or overachievement have been declared. It is clear, it is well known that viability is calculated is equal to 1. The formula is given. Targets set in the present regulation are for licensee as a whole, but it can be division-wise or circle-wise in order to make licensing more accountable and responsible on account of this parameter. Another aspect we have mentioned in our SOP regulation is quality of power. It is mentioned in the regulation that neutral voltage should not exceed 2% of supply voltage. Voltage variation limit has been given, harmonic limit has been given, and licensees are empowered to disconnect the supply of consumers who are responsible for these causes. Related to quality of power, the voltage variation limit is different for LT supply, HT supply, and EHT supply voltage. And harmonic limit for LT, HT consumer is also as per the standard we have mentioned in the SOP regulations. The SOP regulation of the GERC mentions about these 3 parameters: neutral voltage, exceeding voltage variation, and harmonics. But impact of this variation or observance or non-observance of these elements have not been incorporated in the MRT regulation so far. Why? It is very clear that these 3 elements, voltage regulation, voltage variation, and harmonics, are the major factors which affect the power quality. Though it is included in the SOP regulation to limit the variation of these 3 elements, a sound and transparent mechanism is required to obtain correct data related to this. As we have seen in the presentation of Mr. Pillai, that even being a private utility and comparatively having a free hand to observe all these 3 parameters and install such type of machinery on its network, they have selected a very much less area or very much less part of its network for these observations. Once it is measured across the distribution network throughout the utility, it cannot be judged where is the problem lies and what type of problem lies and which is the location of that problem. The first thing we need to do is to measure this all the 3 parameters in a very much transparent and correct manner, because it is a well-known stone saying that nothing can be managed until it is measured. So for this, I suggest that data relating to all these 3 parameters should stream on real-time basis, and it should stream without manual intervention. Once the reliable data is available, it can be decided about action plan, and thereafter mechanism to implement the action plan can be devised. It is clear that if capex required to mitigate the voltage variation problem is minimal, there will be very much less effect or no effect on the retail tariff consumer. But if the problem is very large and affecting the very huge part of the distribution network, then no doubt there is requirement of capex on transmission as well as generation side. But as I told earlier, until we know where the problem actually lies, until we know the intensity of the problem, it is very difficult whether it will impact tariff or not. Of course, consumers can be incentivized for installing harmonic filter is being done to maintain power factor, but that also can be done once we can measure the harmonic insertion level of each consumer. With this point of view, I end this presentation and look forward to you for question answer session. Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. With those two presentations, first of all, our apologies for a little bit of technical glitch which has taken place and interrupted because of the system compatibility. However, we have ended with a good note. With this, we open the floor for question and answer. Please, you can ask your question and preferably indicate the question addressed to which of our expert. Please feel free to get your doubts clarified. Okay, this question is for Mr. Pillai. Does Tata Power has considered to introduce any incentive or penalty mechanism for controlling harmonics through tariff order application?
That's what I was mentioning, that while we have made all of this, we need to have a sensitization with respect to the regulators, because it's a new concept and needs to be taken up for discussion. Because unless we have this kind of schemes available, I don't think there would be any incentive. There would be any incentive for the consumer to even take this up. Because as far as he is concerned, he may be having antique equipments or equipments which are old, which are not that voltage sensitive or not that sensitive to flickers and all. But the new equipments which are coming in are highly sensitive. So
yes,
even a small flicker, we have a flurry of complaints which come in from the consumers, stating that either their lights are gone off or their equipments have got defunct or the motherboard has failed. So these are new emerging complaints which are coming, as against the age-old complaints of there was a power supply failure or there has been an issue related to the frequency and my motor is running slow. Those are things of the past now. So we need to have incentives which are similar to the ones which we have for the DSM kind of stuff. Over.
thank you. The next question which comes, in your opinion, what are the key parameters that should be considered and measured for power quality in today's environment?
Let's start with the basics. While the frequency is governed by the system and the state transmission utilities, the voltages at the interface with the consumer, that needs to be monitored and to be regulated within the stipulated bandwidth as per whatever is highlighted in the SOP norms which every state has. Now, having said that, do the utilities have any devices which are like your on-load tap changes, or are they still going in for static compensators which are in terms of a step function? So these are things which we need to bring in. What we have in Tata Power is we have on-load tap changes that are 33 by 11 kV transformers, which work on a master-slave kind of a setting, and we try to maintain that bandwidth. Over.
Thank you.
Could I have a query? I mean, would you be able to also identify yourself? Over.
We'll try to identify, but sometime it's difficult because we are not getting the attendee's name who is raising the question. But wherever in the chat box, if someone is putting the question with his name, we'll be able to identify.
Okay.
The next question, I put this to Mr. Anada. What is the role
Yes.
of the state regulator in identifying PQ performance? I would repeat, what is the role of the state regulator in identifying PQ performance?
Yes, the role of the state regulator has been stipulated in the Act itself. First role is to give the SOP norms regarding quality of power parts. All the state commission have notified their SOP regulations and mentioned the various limits of voltage variation and harmonic insertion in the distribution or transmission network. But the question is how far the regulators are observing these norms, and to what extent distribution licensee is reporting correctly to the regulator. It is a question at present.
Right.
Because source of information or source of data with utilities is not that much reliable. Of course, it is mentioned in the regulation that utilities are required to report these three parameters on quarterly basis. They may be checking, or they may be conducting a special drive for reporting these three parameters on quarterly basis to some consumers. But it is a sample check only. It does not reflect the correct situation of distribution network. So unless and until correct data is not available with the regulator, it is not possible to become stringent or to have to allow some capital expenditure on that aspect. Over.
Thank you, sir. With this, a thought crosses my mind. You have in your presentation very clearly mentioned that what you cannot measure, you cannot manage.
Yes.
And today we know that power quality is an issue, and we cannot wait for too long before it becomes a burning issue. So that means measurement is a priority. Now,
Yeah.
As a regulatory commission, has there been any effort to encourage the utilities to submit capital expenditure proposal, at least to begin with, to monitor the PQ parameters for all the HT customers to begin with? Because many of the buildings, many of the malls which are totally modern, even many of the industries which are using a lot of VSDs and power electronics technology are subjected to power utilization issue of harmonics, or also subjected to the sensitivity due to voltage and frequency norms. So has there been any effort to encourage them to submit capital expenditure for doing metering of such parameters? And once the metering is in place, probably your concern of getting the data in a unbiased manner could be addressed.
Still no particular sort of efforts has been done by regulators. But it can be done. It can be done. and it can be incorporated in SOP regulations also, that they should submit data for a particular level of HT consumer or some kind of building level, and observe it on a regular basis, and thereafter if they require they can propose capex in the ARR. It can be done. At present it is not there.
Could I pitch in? Could I pitch in on
Yes.
this?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm coming out from the standpoint of what has been our experience in terms of, as you rightly said, what cannot be measured cannot be monitored. What we have over here is, I just gave you an example of the power quality meters, which we have connected to each of the buses if they are sectionalized. So we have one per bus. So that is with respect to, it gives me variations in terms of voltages, in terms of harmonics. In terms of the KID SID, you can always have the outage management system in place, or till such time you can use your enterprise system to kind of map your DTs with respect to your consumers and then take it upstream to the feeders. So that's one way of doing it, which we did when we were in Delhi, till we had the OMS. Now that the OMS has come, everything gets automated. So we have a daily output which comes in terms of what has been the KID in terms of various segments of the consumer category. I mean, you can have it as discrete as it can be residential, industrial, or commercial. So it can be monitored, and with the government also wanting to ensure that you have the GIS in place, so it makes the entire process even more rugged and robust. And it will be done through the system, so it eliminates the need for any manual intervention. Over.
Okay. You are largely talking about private utilities there that are operative in a very much limited area of our country. But major part of our country is being distributed or being supplied through state distribution companies or government distribution companies. There are many limitations on their side. First limitation is awareness in the employees who are in technical field of the distribution company about the power quality. Second is the lack of awareness from consumer side also. They are not at all aware that what they are doing with this distribution system and how they are polluting the electricity and what is the repercussions they are suffering due to the pollution of electricity by other consumers. So this is also a question. So far as private utilities are concerned, they are very much equipped with all this data, and they can propose some PQ capex in their ARR. We have such type of utility in our Gujarat, that is Torrent Power Limited, but that they have also not submitted this PQ capex in their ARR so far. Over. Hello? Hello?
Yes, please.
This is Manas. Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Okay. Pillai sir,
I'm playing it.
this is for you. You mentioned that it is necessary to educate the customers on power quality and its effect. What effort is undertaken currently by Tata Power to educate its customers?
We have regular, one is we talk with respect to the TOD. So we educate them with respect to the TOD. We also educate them with respect to, I think we are the only utility as of now who also have started with the DSM initiatives, where we help them try and reduce their own consumption and also participate in DSM initiatives like whenever there is a peak they can throw up. So it's a shared concept which is there. We try and tell them, we carry out audits in their premises and it's all documented, and we carry out audits with the EESL team which is certified, so that it becomes a document which is also accepted by the regulator. Now the catch comes after that, because the consumer then says that okay, this requires some investment, which then becomes a deferred kind of an investment, and that is the topic that we are trying to address. If we can have some kind of initiatives where it's not only the report which is the end point, but the report in terms of the audit findings should be the start point. Now how do we trigger that to happen is something which both the utility and the regulator has to take a call if the consumer is not in a position to do that. So maybe some incentivizing has to be done. Over.
Hello, can you add to that? Sorry, can I add to that?
Yes, please.
Once the parameter at consumer's end is measured, and if it is found that there is some requirement of capital expenditure to be done by either consumer or utility, I suggest it should be done by utility itself without waiting for consumer's response. Because once you place this type of equipment in your network, it is going to help you both, utility and consumers. So by putting a small capex in a very much large big ARR, it will not going to affect consumer's tariff to a great extent, or I say it will not affect at all. But to start at some point, it is the responsibility of utility being in electricity sector and playing a leading role to initiate investing money in this sector of power quality. What do you suggest, Mr. Manas? Hello?
Hello? I think the people are disconnected, is it?
Yeah, I think.
Did you listen to me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hello?
Hello.
Did you,
Okay,
did
okay.
you
There are only two of us.
There is another question which I would like to mention. The quality of power is next level of efficiency that is required in the systems in the country. How many countries track this data regularly and improve the efficiencies and their regulated return? Mr. Pillai, would you like to address this?
You must realize that other countries do not publish. They don't even tell what the issues are. Utilities normally don't share data with each other. You must keep that in mind. So it would be difficult for me to comment on what is done in other countries in terms of how often
Yeah,
you
I have some information.
Yes.
In US, especially the PJM area, it is the harmonics and the power quality data is being monitored and also put it onto the web, where the web access to a specific customer is given through his control access, because they have normally an agreement with the HT customer about the power quality parameters what they would like to deliver, and in case of failure of delivering the same, what they would like to compensate for. So it's a two-way process. In Europe, the power quality monitoring is regularly done, and the European Commission regulators, they monitor this data and undertake a lot of standards and policy initiatives based on the situation. In China and Singapore, this is being done, and especially in China, we have seen after the Asiad Games, it has, and since the time they have declared that they would go for a heavy adoption of electric vehicle, they have gone in a substantive manner, especially in Guangzhou province and Shanghai province, to monitor the power quality at the distribution transformer level, which is tracked down through the DSS and also published the information for the Chinese National Institute of Standards. In Singapore, they consider power as a input for their country's operational excellence, and that's why the Singapore Electric Authority puts a lot of emphasis on power quality parameters. So this is what, to my knowledge, some of the places where quality of power to bring in the next level of efficiency. While on this discussion, Mr. Pillai, I wanted to know that has the utilities, in your knowledge, have tried to analyze what is the impact of harmonics onto their assets, and has it been tried to be quantified so that there are steps taken to address this issue?
See, as of now, it is still in the nascent stage, and even in the developed countries, people are only trying to look at this with a different viewpoint on account of the fact that you have grid-connected renewables coming in. And with that, the kind of voltages, over voltages which are happening and the kind of harmonics which are getting injected is still being studied. In India, I do not think that utilities have matured to this in terms of measurement, in terms of the infeed from the consumer side into the utility side. So we are talking about a new word which is coming in the market called prosumers. So it is yet to mature. If you ask me one sentence, no, it has to be, it is yet to mature. Over. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
Mr. Banas, while talking on telephone before some days, you told me about your experience with TNERC. Can you share this? Hello. Mr. Manas, can you hear me? Hello.
Yes.
I think nobody is there.
I think no, we have a lot of interruptions, and my sincere apologies to everyone who are participating. There has been some sound loss because of some technical issues. What I would request that we'll call it a close, but please be rest assured all the questions will be answered in a tabular manner, and each of the participants will be getting the answer for all these questions together through our Thanksgiving mail. So with that, I propose that we close this session because there is a lot of sound loss in between, which is making it difficult and distorted, something like harmonics in our electrical system. So we thank you again for participation and thank you for your patience. Again, our sincere apologies for the glitches which has taken place during the webinar. Thank you. We'll revert back to you.
Okay, so shall we sign off?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.